Hello Blender folks, welcome and welcome back. I'm Pxy-STREAM, this time not making the error again. I've pressed the button to start recording, so let's continue our rigging experiments here on the pelvis region, which is very complicated organic rigging usually. And yes, this file, okay. And immediately let's save this as another version here so we can make mistakes freely. So let's see. 05E, this is the day 5. Okay, so this here, so where did I stop? I was, you see that list on the top right left corner? Yes. So yesterday I've made the hips thigh joint fake displacement improvement on the fan bone, which is let's I'm on the wrong bone stuff, wrong bone layer. So now the form rig, yes. So I was having this one, and also yes, also the controller. So a lot of bones are hidden from this layer and probably from this one too. So this fan bone, right, now it displaces itself. You see, this can be very useful since this this bone also rotates, by the way. It has this derotation of the mesh of the thigh, so it just follows the thigh bone, which is a deformed bone. You see the wave paint, and then you see this is nearly the same, except that it is mostly focused on the critical complicated joint. But originally this bone only had the copy rotation thing with this set, so it has a lower influence. It's an inverted rotation, and it is parented also to the thigh bone. So it will follow, and its starting position, see, it's completely aligned. So what it does, it will derotate the mesh that it is affecting, but only that part of the mesh. And so this helps a lot in countering the horrid artifacts, volume loss, whatever that happens usually here. Of course, what you're seeing here is a relatively stable result. If we talk about anatomic shapes is not good, it's just sort of solved some of the worst of the artifact here. But you have still some interpenetration. The belly, I don't have another system. The crotch region is a bit bizarre, and there are some volume loss there. So I'm not moving this manually because I've already made those automations here. So what this does, the logic is to, I've used transformation constraint. We could have done this otherwise, but I've decided this way because I'm more familiar to it. So on the front bending of the thigh, this bone, you see the rotation is automatic. If this was turned off, it will just follow the orientations of the thigh. This would follow that, right? So but we need that. This is the most important thing. Although this idea that I have, because usually we do this kind of stuff for helper bones that are separate, one from the front, one from the back, and they usually have this kind of motion in automation. Here, as the leg bends forward, this thing goes back and goes up, and so it's exactly what it's doing for these two. I've analyzed that. I've separated one for the Y, so it's behind, and other for the up and down. I've showed this in the last video, so I'm not gonna put time in this here right now. So it's just a transformation bone constraint, right? So two of them, and these are for the back bending. Yeah, just something here. This is for the positive, and that maximum positive occasionally, and here these two others, they are for the back bending, you see this BK, it's back. So it's the same thing, but for the back. So here I'm using map from. So this is the rotation of the thigh. So it's a negative on the x minimum. So it's the same thing, except it's the inverse. So instead of minimum, instead of being on the maximum, a positive value, now I put a negative value of rotation on the minimum. And so all right, while for the back bending I have an animation here. Yeah, we don't see good results here because for many reasons, but if I enable a old rig here that I'm not sure if I'll be able to substitute, but this is part of the experiment that we are doing. These, I'm calling them profile bendy bone splines. They are disabled, but let's enable the deform property of these bones. You see what it does? So they are they are automated. All of them, these tweak bones here, all of them, they have some transformation bone constraint. It's tedious, and sometimes we have, but it gives a lot of control. But now you see there's a lot of blended waves there, so it's a bit messy. And here I could improve. You see there's some motion there that maybe deforms there that maybe we don't want. So I could change some waves from the deformed bones are these ones, right? So this is controlling these splines there, and yeah, so maybe here it was a mistake, but the idea here, let's reset this, it's automated, so it will at least now we see better shapes, close to something that would be good enough, but not good enough for me, although we don't usually obtain this kind of results. And this also can be good because they are separating the mesh in different regions. We can make some buttocks leverage system up and down, even though we have some problems here that need some retake. This can also affect the crotch region, so we have some control locally, right, on that region. And so far, also on the side here, it is important for example, a side bending. We can have control, or inner bending also, we can play with those things. So here I don't have automation for these tweak bones. The tweak bones are optional. We could have directly on the handles, but then the handles they don't have alignment with wall space from the starting condition, and so this the rest position, so it's for the armature, so it's not very precise. It can be it's not regular, right, as I call, so it's less regular, so it's not good. So that's why I parented each handle bone to a tweak bone, and this is completely aligned, right, so we're space, so it's easier to get the transformation bone constraint on the map 2, which relates to the owner bone of the bone constraint, right, it's the tweak bone, while the map from relates to the target bone of the bone constraint. So the target of this is actually the target for all this stuff, including for the fan bone, is the thigh bone. It's always the target because it's the I'm mapping from the rotation of the thigh. So when the thigh rotates backwards, then things will happen proportionally. So yeah. And this is very analytical and sometimes conflicting. And this is why I want to, and time consuming, yeah. So it's hard work, but the idea of this, yeah, this kind of thing works. And but I want to simplify everything, and so let's go. Let's see what we can do here. So it's not the back bend. Yeah, I was showing you how the fan bone here. So as for the front bending, there is some value for helper bones to move this back and upward to counter artifact. And as the leg bends backward, it's sort of the inverse. We want this to go down because there's the creation of some, you see, some bad shapes here, which are terrible. So what we want is we move this down so it spreads apart and move away, and so we are sort of elastic, right? We are moving, but you see, it's not solving the problem, right? So sometimes it's just not enough. We need to do some, and this is just location motion for the tweaked bones. So it's not, there's no rotation here, although we could have, but that would be double work, right? Eventually it's good to make rotation too, but it's twice more work to do for every little bone, right? So this is why one of the, it's not totally an experiment, I think this method is already in use, is the action bone constraint output based automation. Is it an output based automation for helper bones? I'm not sure, so I want to, if I have time, try to figure that out. I don't use I don't have much experience with action bone constraint. I think it can do something like the RBF nodes editor, which is a free add-on that can create this kind of automation, not from input based, as I call, but as an output based automation. What does that mean? This system here that I've procured is a input based system, and the annoying thing, there are two major drawbacks in my opinion in doing an input based automation for bones, in this case of course helper bones. The first problem, maybe it's not the worst, but it's that we need as many methods in rigging. Unfortunately, it requires tons of hard work to get the things do what we want, so it's a lot of tiny stuff, tiny details, so very complicated and time consuming. So this is a drawback. And the other drawback is that you see here, I'm talking theoretically, right, because these are practical problems that I cannot show here totally, but I can explain in theory more or less. So for example, you see those things, usually they are very analytical, and they are orthogonal. It's easier to build from an orthogonal perspective. So it's like the x-axis, then I have for the side bending, I don't have yet automation on the side bending. If it's moving because the thigh is slightly rotating on its x-axis as I do this. So no automation here, but I should make in some other system. You see how that can be. We can pose and then decide, try to find out that pose, what it means in terms of these calculations here. The map to and also from, and yeah, the map from we don't touch. This value is arbitrary also. I mean, it's not arbitrary. It's important, but the total, the maximum or minimum, whatever the amount here, this is incorrect even, because this would mean that the minimum for the x rotation of this quaternion, by the way, for the bone also, I use quaternion everywhere here, so it must match. It's important, I think. So anyways, it will, you said that the rest position is here for my character. It's a sort of an X pose, not a T pose or A pose. I don't recommend it if you don't know what you're doing. I need to make a tutorial about that after I am successful at this stuff. This thing helps, for example, the front bending and the back bending, because the legs are in a position here, the thigh, in which as it doesn't need to rotate as much bending force to reach that maximum pose. So this means less artifacts to solve on this region, and same for the back bending. Actually not, but for the side bending this helps. But for back bending this is not so good, but it's not too different from the T-pose. But maybe it's slightly more difficult for the back bending, except that the pose, for some reason, because this helps the side bending, it might also not be so bad for the buttocks region on the back bending. But yeah, this should be less effective for the back bending, but then we solve that by using other more techniques, right? So if we had a T-pose, this is why the front bending is much easier to solve in this. So if I have the rest position where the leg is like on that pose, it will be perfect pose already from the rest pose here. The rest pose is a T-pose, but so if I had, but then the back bending would be horrible because the leg would have to rotate all the way back, and that would be disastrous and same for the other thing. If the contrary, if I have the rest position of the leg all the way back, I could shape this, model the character, right, from with the perfect mesh there. But as the leg rotates forwards, already from that pose here, it will be already horrible results there in terms of deforms. And then let's not even talk what would happen on that pose. So so this is sort of a middle term and also beneficial for side bending. So this is why the front bending is actually quite good already, with not, even if I took off these deforms here, I did that before, that the result will still be much better than what we see on a T-pose, A-pose rig. And not, yeah, and if I take this off, this will be bad. So this is the most important basal thing, but then everything counts as little things, right? So but I want the most elegant solution that I can find. So okay, so let's go for the, what I was, oh yes, I was talking about the second drawback of the automation that is input based. Yeah, so what happens, I remember now. So the problem is that usually we try to solve the X for the X rotation of the thigh, right, front, back, and then for the Z rotation. So we're working orthogonally, right, like very analytical. But then let's say I solve the perfect back bending, then I solve the perfect side bending on the stuff. Okay, but then I start to pose and I realize that the diagonal pose, something like that, or perhaps to the front, yeah, this is this is not good, but you see what I mean, when the leg is diagonal either backward or even forward. So this or this, right, that the mesh maybe is not very good, the helper bones are not doing their job properly because I don't have a diagonal axis for this. So this means that as I try, let me solve this pose, then you change the automation, and when we return to see the back bending, the front bending, the side bending, whatever, then realize that these changes have destroyed previous hard work on this. The meshes, the deforms are bad now here, or they are less good. So it becomes a back and forth problem, and this is critical because if we cannot solve everything simultaneously, if everything is not good, and they start to, yeah, so that interface of the diagonal, because we are working orthogonally, So that would be an input based system. So unless I had a diagonal system that perhaps from the diagonal, this is very abstract, I'm not even sure if, but does that make sense? So then I could solve like everything at once, but I don't have the diagonal, and I'm not sure I can build that from an input based system. So the output based system would be something like given a pose like that, the deformed bones, the helper bones would be here. Whatever, give them a position, and the software will calculate whatever it takes for them to reach that position from their own configuration, from a given pose. So I can get something like specific key poses that I think are fundamental, like this, then the diagonal, and that, and everything else will be calculated automatically. And so in principle RBF nodes editor can do that, but it lags my system, like yeah, it uses drivers, right? So for me this is very fortunate. I still hope that perhaps I need to make some experiments, but maybe on Blender 4.1, I don't know, maybe at some point this gets fixed, maybe it's a bug, maybe there are, yeah, I don't know, but it would be an output based automation. Action bone constraint, actually I think they are. So this is some experiment that I had in mind, and I want to test. So I could test now, but let's go for the experiment on the list, that is the mechanism mapping for helper bones. So this has been waiting for already 2 sessions and I finally reached that. So I don't have a lot of time in this afternoon here. I have about, yeah, I have less than 1 hour from now, so I need to see. I'll do as much as I can, so let's work on that. So first thing, I don't want to visualize these deforms because they might confuse my what I need, my understanding of what I need to do for this rig. If this is a mistake, then I just re-enable that. So I need the deforms and I need the controls. Okay, so the knee pole target and this. I have other controls for the leg, but this should be enough for this case. So I could also have a side bending. I'll do it when it is necessary. For now I'm not caring about. So let's start with the mapping. Since we don't have the helper bones on, yeah, I have this but not those helper bones on, and then we lost the buttocks leverage, which could help in these shapes, and also we lost any belly leverage system. So these kind of things happen, which is ugly. You see the interpenetration. It's not the worst thing, but it's not so simple to solve, and the crotch area also, it's bizarre, right? So we need to, even though we have this, it's not enough. So we could make some change to the wave paintings that we have for those 3 bones, but let's start from this condition, right, to simplify. So let me save here. Now what I'm going to do is, hold a second please. So what I want to do here is, I'm going to, yes, I need a new layer to work with. Okay, we are in Blender 4.0.2, so there is, I can create as many layers I want. So that's a good thing. And this is, folks, this is Bone Manager. It is back in operation. Now it works on Blender 4, and it's marvelous, very good to have this panel here. So one day if I have money, I'm gonna enough money, I'm certainly gonna give some gift for this, the guy that sustained this fantastic add-on. So it's free, it's there. So I'll call this, no, not old, I'll call this the, yeah, new system, new. Okay, new. So what is this? Is the, I'll put here at the same time the mechanism bones to map. So how this will work? I'm not sure exactly where do I need them. And all this is a bit of abstraction because I don't remember the whole idea. I have noted that somewhere. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I have some piece of paper here. Let's see. Okay, but I'll start to create some mini bones around the thigh somewhere. I don't know if it near here. They are spatial mappers, spatial reference for so the orientation. Yeah, they can be, they don't need to move themselves, so I can really get them oriented along the thigh. They don't need to be big also, that should be fine. The idea would be to try to position them exactly on some, folks, here I'm not even sure this is the good position, but let me, I'm using this. I think it's normal. Okay, so we are sliding it here, then we can, yeah, we can do this. Okay, this is totally on the top. Oh, this is good, this is good. This is mapping. Aha, this is gonna be interesting. Okay, so let's say I need to map that, and I'm called that mechanism, actually map. It's a mechanism bone, but I call map to give a distinction. I have even color for that, those kind of bones. Mapper bones, I call them, just spatial reference. Map, thigh, top, or, well, it's front, right? Front, and point left. Okay, the question is that the idea, the bones that will try to use this as a target or as an attractor, they would be around here. So why I need to put this right in the front? It's not really, maybe it will be, maybe I want them to be somewhere like here. So it will be something like that. And then I'm going to duplicate that and do this. This rest position may not be accurate because I was modeling the character, making corrective modeling of the character from the T-pose, which is on the pose position, which is crazy. So I could align it better with, not align, you could shape it according to character design. Boy, but how can you model the character on a rest pose? Shouldn't you on pose, yeah, in a posed position? Wouldn't it be on the rest position that we model, that we shape the mesh? Yeah, technically this is by default. However, if I enable on cage and edit mode for the armature modifier, then I can model the, where's the animation? Okay, screencast and not animation view, annotation. So I have the character design, for example, and I can, this is dangerous because we don't see. Yeah, and if I don't have, oh, hold on. Yeah, this is, maybe this is a better thing to do. It's bizarre, yeah, but we can play with that. New finding, folks. So I can look at here as I try to solve here. So it's even more complicated, but sometimes it can. This is why my mesh here is a bit. So the idea here, anyways, if I it means it's a little back and forth. So even if I fix that, then I need to check what happens on the there's also the problem of the subdivision, right? Yeah, so the subdivision plays a role. Maybe I need to enable that. Another thing that I didn't have. Oh yeah, I needed that. This is better. Yeah, people say sometimes that this must be done. This is not recommended. It's true in some cases, while in other cases this is very useful. And yeah, I might be deforming some stuff, but then the important thing is that the T-pose is good. And as I go back to the here, the pose might not look so good. However, I can make minor fixes here, like and then yeah, go back and eventually, but this is the main thing, right? This was usually my main thing, right? And then if we because I don't want to use corrective methods for this is my corrective method, right? The problem is not really those shapes, shouldn't be, although because I'm doing this kind of craziness, this is a problem now. This is why I cannot recommend to do a rest position like that. You see, it already creates a problem to deal with the character design. Yeah, we can start with a T-pose because of the irregularity, model the character from that, then change the pose, change the rest pose by posing the character after you have a basic rig. Sculpt mode can do that too, right? But I do it armature. But then, yeah, there's the method for changing rest position of the model and of the armature is dangerous, it's obscure, it's difficult to do that in Blender. But there are content, I know many things. It's dangerous, especially after we have modeled separate clothes, because then we have to do the multiple times the same thing for each. Yeah, it can be very dangerous actually, yes. So okay, so I'm not playing with that. It's not, just showing how complicated this can get. So what do we need here? Yeah, disable that. I need to yeah, ignore the shape. So I need to, ideally of course, I would like to have the best shape as possible and then solve the helper bone system, right? But I'm making these mapping systems here. You see, it's not, they are getting, they lose in space, but of course, just the parenting should do. And so what happens now is that they totally follow the type. So if I have the type moving on any direction, they give indication of the spatial indication. Wow, is that the yeah, so this is a problem that I was having because of that. So this is somewhat new. I'm not sure if this is the something related to I key. I tried to, it's like it's getting, of course, because this is pointing. So this is why another point that is a problem, that can be a problem, because you see, it doesn't seem to recognize that. So how can I get this to be derotated on a, you see here, the bone seems to be aligned front, so this sounds good. But why then, when I move this forward, it starts to tilt inwards the thigh? So I'm not sure, and this is what causing this horrid thing. It's not exactly a, might be, yeah, it should be an inverse kinematics thing, although this bone is not suffering from inverse kinematics. It would serve nothing to do this, it doesn't affect it. Oh yes, maybe it's being, okay, I need to check the other layer of bones. This is this is happening because I play with dangerous things here. And so let's see, I need this. Let's see, all controls, why do I, no, it's a mistake. Okay, all controls, so I have these bones. Let's see what they are doing here. No, it's staying in place. Yeah, so no, nothing to do with this apparently. And yeah, so there's the mechanism bones, which are the ones that are, there's another chain of bones. You see, it's perfectly aligned. Oh, I see. Okay, it seems that the deformed bone of the type is not aligning the Y rotation with the, yeah, it is tilted, while the mechanism, because here's the mechanism, see, it's straight, it's regular, so the I key is regular, the deformed bone is not being regular, so something is missing in my rig. I didn't know about that. So it's not some problem about the inverse kinematics panel, maybe. Let's check, because I suspected it was the mechanism bone the source of the problem, but it is not. It is, and it is getting displaced, even though I didn't displace the foot. Where is the foot bone? It's, where's the foot bone? The foot bone should be here. I'm losing its, oh, it's this. Okay, even though I've not moving this bone here, is the F key for the foot, right? So I could make some special posing, right? You see, without even F key in this way. And yeah, and joint pinning of the knee at the same time that I can pose the, where's the foot? I've lost the foot. No, I don't see the foot. Now let's reset. I think I moved the foot some. The foot, the left foot, what? I deleted the foot. No, it is. It is in a wrong layer. Okay, so Shift M. All controls. Okay, just stupid mistake. So, all right. So all that doesn't matter. All this is. So I'm not displacing the foot, the F key foot, so it doesn't mean and even though I'm not, there is some displacement there. This was not expected to happen. So why this is... Oh, I know now, I know, of course. The bone constraints. I need to reset those things. Yeah, so it will be it's something about these values here that I should have give this a name. That it was, there it was. So it was and now, yes, now the alignment is good. So that was it, folks. Red alert for a moment, but yeah, there's still things to solve, but there's some tilting, but whatever. It was just a little extra displacement. I made some change there, but at least I have the backup from the right leg, so whatever I do here, it doesn't matter. So fortunately, let's hide all that. We don't need to do this. We just want this and this and this and this and this, and we don't want, we hide everything else, and we save, and we look for the bone collections. Okay, no more bone layers. It's pinned, right? Can't we? Is the pin icon? What is this icon? I don't know what's that. Lock panels. So that. Okay, I don't know what's lock panels. This is new for me. It's, I think, for the add-on. So something about the add-on. So a new feature maybe. So help. No. Deform. Yeah, the deform, the control, and the new. So yeah, here we're doing the mechanism things. Sorry, folks. This was interesting problem to investigate, but waste time. Sorry about that. We'll continue to do these mapping things. Just in case, we are going to, go in the middle. We are going to, we can use this same. Okay, then we change this. I'll go to normal. Change the Z. The problem is that, can I snap into edge? I can. The edge of the bone is the bone length. So okay, so it snapped to the center, and now I can. Blender is getting smarter than ever, so I can move this along here. Something maybe here. I could snap to surface, but that is that approximation is enough. Snapping to surface will displace probably the organization I'm making. So this, instead of, it will be back left. This will be left doesn't make sense. So, and left, it's already, this could confuse Blender, so I'll just do, well, another way would be outside, and so the x-axis here, normal axis, so this will be inside, and take off these numbers, There we go. So I can here change the bone colors for this. Viewport display will give this with alt. Didn't I have names for this? I think this is the, I think I was using this for the tweak bones. The mapper bones, maybe it's this color. Okay, so I can change their bone length also, but yeah, that can do. And also maybe on the, how do we work on the B-bone scale now? I know that this has changed. Yeah, I have this, it's already set here. Alright, this gizmo. So it's not certain that I will be able to use this but in this position, but or that I need every one of them, but then I can move this like that and reposition them according to X, normal X or normal Z axis. So this is perfectly full control of this set according to the. Okay, so let's try now. How do they, yeah, they are moving correctly, right? So you see they give some idea. So now this is interesting, folks. They give an idea of on a mechanical perspective, which is sometimes it is important here, because you see, as the mesh rotates, and we don't have a visual reference in 3D nor in 2D how would be the ideal pose, we might get confused about the fact that, okay, the mesh is here, so that is correct. But actually, if we were to consider body more mechanical, there is a very displacement of the mesh because of, yeah, that motion, because of no buttocks lever, because of many factors. And this is actually interesting because the thigh is being, although there are muscles that are in activity, right? But this is evidence that something is very wrong here, even though they are the shape. So if we didn't have those references, we'll say, oh, maybe this is correct. Well, yeah, maybe this certainly is not correct, but maybe that positioning appears correct, but maybe it's not that so. And in a good deal, this is happening because of the skinning algorithm. So here, for example, maybe we could have the the mesh go more inside, here more up. Although these are approximations, because there will be, yeah, tendons, muscle, flesh, all this will have an impact. But without, we could use the, yeah, we could have the bone itself, but it's different. Here I really have a, I could even make this a circular bendy bone spine, but that will be too tiresome, too annoying to build. So this is why I could have smaller of this, but it's not. Yeah, we could have. Oops. We could connect the two bones, maybe. Yeah, I don't want to do anything like that. So this is sort of sufficient, I think, and also it gives an idea that we haven't solved apparently everything here about the rotation of the dive, whatever, but doesn't matter, we can work with that. So now that I have the mechanism bones, they are giving some extra reference of the thing. Now comes to the point, what kind of rig system of helper bones can I make that would perhaps benefit from this? To start simple, buttocks leverage and the other thing. So let's start with regular deformed bones. So this means that I would have, and this can be aligned with world space maybe. So let's get here. I'll give this bone a special color. Yeah, it can stay like that, or I can totally align with world space. Maybe this is better. Negative. Okay, that it can be that. I will give it an orange color because it's a deformed. Yeah, it's secondary. It's not as important as the type, and it's different from this color. Alright, I will call it def type back. Yeah, actually buttocks left. Alright, and of course it will require wave painting. So I'm not using any yeah, so in this case I'm not going to parent it or anything to the type because it will take its transforms as reference, and this is very bad because unless it is, yeah, because this will follow anywhere, and so that will be complicated. Yeah, we don't want this kind of effect, so I need to okay, so this could be set someplace like that. I think it sounds a good position already. This is in the wrong spot, so I'm gonna move it to the new and take it off from the controls. So now if I, yeah, it's correct. So this layer I'm making this system. Alright, so now ideally I would prefer to use the profile bendy bone splines, right? But since I'm now experimenting with something simpler, let's start with regular deformed bones like this one and see if we can solve something about these deforms in a simpler way, a more rapid way. So for the buttocks leverage, I believe this is more about this area. Of course it will be taking some waves from the dorsal, the back, yes. Here this will be very complicated, I think, and that the crotch, or as we reach for that part, might be also complicated. So let's try to smooth some stuff here, especially here is very important to smooth out this here, this region. And oh, it's getting through. I think I have some. Okay, so no. So how did I paint that other area? So Control will subtract. Okay, this is Blender 4.0. This is the future. It only works if I have add or subtract, I guess. So mix and draw won't do this, and usually I don't use add, but here that might be the way to go. And yeah, add and smooth is like shift, right? So it's regular just as the other modes involving painting. Is a request for a very long time what happened there. Yeah, I can take this off. Now this may be not good. It's lagging, this shift. Yeah, it's you can just do that, maybe it's better. So this bone is not moving yet, so it's doing nothing. And okay, so you see it's not crossing the body. It's probably some brushing that I've done that was incorrect. I really don't know how that happened. And maybe this is sufficient. So I'm gonna save here, and we're gonna go on pose mode. So now I must be attention, because yeah, so this is bad. So rotation here can be very dangerous. It taking too much waves on the top, so maybe we should wave paint this from... There's a long time I don't use the regular bones for this kind of stuff, so more used to do this kind of stuff with bendy bone spline, so this is a bit tedious with that. I think it might be harder to get smoother results, so I probably want to, yeah, use smear, would be not on that strain. And then, yeah, smear, then smooth. This doesn't, yeah, let's do that. That part, maybe it's wrong. Yeah, usually here doesn't need to have red in the middle of this, along the spine. Maybe the outer part we want some more waves. The butt cheek, but not too much. It's a very complicated area because of the artifacts, volume loss artifact. So I'm doing it like blindly. I don't really know if this is actually good to do. And so of course, as we, yeah, so I think it will be smoothed out, so I think I'll need to use this, except that perhaps I shouldn't get the other part of the leg into play. Well, it's too low waves, let's accept that. Visually it's I think it's better for me. Otherwise there are some spots with nothing and it's doesn't feel right. So zero, absolutely zero influence. I don't think it's the best thing. So here we could, yeah, you'd smooth and try to especially on the top, right, the back actually of the thigh. We'll try to get some smoothing out so that the influence that we can get this to go up, yeah, even more. Maybe average can help. No, so let's push this. Now it's pushing not in the direction that I want. Now to push I have to go in the inverse direction. So for some reason I could never understand this behavior, but yeah, and now it's inverted. Now it's normal. Yeah, so with this, let's try to brush here and reset. Let's leave this mode. So yeah, this is not the kind of thing that, why this is happening. I don't know, but anyways, the idea here, the buttocks leverage would be doing something like that. Of course we can also do a combination of motion. I'll avoid rotation, or if I do rotations, the last thing I would do, and it's usually very tiny rotation, and so this is helping somewhat, but it's really not good enough. But we can solve this kind of rig with that. Yeah, there's some part there that is okay. We'll address this with wave painting only. So too much influence. The helper bone cannot be red, apparently. It's just too much. So let's change this reality. Maybe I can bring more waves here. Actually, yeah, the problem is add, and let's go to the mix rate. So I pick from the vertex. What is the shift? Okay, right click, I can select this, but I want to select, oh, maybe the mix doesn't do that. Control Alt, no, I surely don't know what is the, so Control, I'm trying all clicks, but I cannot find what picks the vertex. Alt, sorry folks, okay, I don't know, maybe I don't have that option anymore, so this is annoying, but I can still have this, so not totally lost. Let's try to do this. Sounds better. Maybe we can have more there. This seems to be helping more, this, and smoothing here. Yeah, I think we'll smooth out that, and so the top really doesn't need all that amount, so we can Yeah, no, it doesn't. Well, I'm on mix now, so I need to reduce this. No, reduce like here. No, reduce like here. Yeah, this should be good. And this we can blur, and yeah, this part, then blurring again. Yeah, I remember this color for this other deformed bones that I was using, so they cannot take too much waves. It's relative, of course, but maybe that is usually good to have. Yeah, so here certainly we want lesser waves on the top because it needs to follow. This must be stronger usually. It's still not good. Yeah, this is still too strong, so let's try to have the wrong impression here about this. So yeah, still very strange here. I hate this that I'm not able to smooth enough the way I want. If that was bendy bone spline, I think it will be doing better. But since I decided to start out without it, I'm just having some very bad time here with this wave painting and approach. Eventually, yeah, we could use an algorithm for now that happened, so at least we can use control this, and there's some delay. My time is, it's finishing. I probably don't have more than 10 minutes here, right? So I'll have to stop and come back later today. Yes, it's totally feasible, but yeah, this is tragical. It's just some sharp point here that just doesn't blur as I want. It's squarey. It really doesn't seem to be. Why something is not. Yeah. Okay. This kind of, so you see, we can sometimes rotating. You see, this is a 90-degree rotation. You see how the artifacts builds up suddenly. This is horrible. On this direction, it's hard to visualize anything, but whatever. And this is a warping artifact. It's different. So this has nothing to do with, because this is negative 90 degrees and this is would be positive 180 degrees, right? So Anyways, we're not rotating this, maybe just slightly, no more than 15-30 degrees would be, yeah. So the idea here would be so to let's see how. The problem is that this bone has nothing to do with, I cannot use those mappers for anything else than imagining where the mesh should be. So it could help in the sense of I need to rebuild the strategy, reflect a little more. It was intuitive. I know it can be helpful, these mapper bones, but I'm not sure of the actual application. It was supposed perhaps to be used with bendy bones splines that would try to find this as a spatial mapping position. Yeah, it's very maybe it's a useless idea. But something tells me that there is more of this. But if I do not find it along the next this experimentation, right, if I don't get in touch with the insight that I have, then I just have to forget about it. For now, we see that this bone, it we need to make it move up, right? So that will be like pretty simple, right? So if we go on pose mode, we can select this, then here, and we could add a for example, a transformation bone constraint. However, there's this idea of the action bone constraint, but that will be another part, output automation, right? So let's just use this, something that I'm already familiar with. So it will use local space, map from the rotation of the type. So I need the target, and I need the so map from, I already know I'm using minimum this value, rotation, and quaternion. Wait, I've lost value. Negative. Yes. Oh yeah, because I moved there. Okay. So why this value? Because this is the rotation of the type from 0. This is the start position. It would be different if it was a T-pose, would be more regular. From 0, and the 0 is this regarding in respect to the x-axis of rotation of the type bone. So it's 0, and this would be, so if it's 0 here, as the type reaches here, it will be 90 degrees. This will be 180 degrees, where we could never reach because of the warping artifact. We don't, this is exact, absolutely contortionist thing. We don't, I've calculated that this is not, so it will be 100, negative 135 would be halfway from here to here, so it will be like here, a little less than what than this. So this is already quite exaggerated, but good for some action poses, right? So in theory, so the effect of the deforms of these transforms actually that I am gonna input for the automation, they end up to be gradually affecting this bone a little up. So we didn't reach the maximum threshold, and we're gonna use the everything to the x just for sanity, and it's the z axis of this helper bone that will be able to move up. So it will move up on the minimum of the map from, and it moves up means positive Z, so something like that. And as we, so it doesn't move as the leg rotates forward, it returns to its original place, but as we move this back, it starts moving. Yeah, that's it. It seems to have stopped at some point there, I'm not sure. But if that is the case, it's because that would be reached the limit of that thing. But it doesn't matter, it seems to be working. If I want more, I would just have to create more, change this data here for all the bone constraints that I have. Maybe augment this a little more, maybe in 10 degrees. I mean, reduce the value to negative 150, for example, degrees. Negative 150, that would be another safe threshold. But this, I think it's enough for now. And okay, this is, you see, this doesn't make the rig perfect, but regarding the buttocks, it kinda helps a lot. Then there are ways to smooth this out. Well, there are the wave painting of these, of this, of this. I'm not touching those yet. This is just a simple deformed bone that can do all this already. And of course, maybe I can check. Now, it doesn't seem to be very favorable to do this, but since I have all this, I can play a little, but this will mean more complications, and we want simplification, right? But yeah, we can play and get really it usually is the minimum that will, so we could do that, but I want to be very analytical here, simplifying stuff here. So it will come from the amount of bones, the form helper bones, and of course their the wave paint. Yeah, so if I'm talking about wave paint, let's check this thing again. So maybe it would be time to address some waves here, yeah, because this doesn't seem very good. Hi, hello at your skill, welcome. Welcome. So we are, unfortunately, I'm about to finish the live stream. Yes, so we are, I don't know if you have any question, feel free, because I'm about to leave, but I intend to return today. I'm making remaking, yeah, I'm making some experiments regarding pelvis rigging for not a semi-realistic character. It's actually a stylized, but the anatomy is sort of must be carefully done, otherwise it doesn't match the stylized character design. Although there's no lot of muscle, flesh, bone showing everything, the shapes need to be very accurate based on 2D character design. So this can be very, very challenging to do. So yes, so maybe some waves, they are very basal waves that I'm not touching for I've not been touching for a very long time on this rig. Yeah, you see, they could have, I'm not sure if this is good on other bendings, but yeah, maybe this is not very well smoothed out, and that is why it was not being very, it wasn't easy to wave paint the deformed bone. But this is a buttocks leverage system. So basically, Okay, when you will be live again? Yeah, so I intend I return perhaps in about 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, I think about 3 to 4 hours. I want to, when I come back, I want to continue here doing this continuation. I knew this session I wouldn't have time. Yes, so but thanks for being around. Yeah, feel free then to ask questions or bring some ideas, insights. So here, so just some curious thing here, because maybe you just arrived, I'm not sure. I have here, here is the old structure. These are deformed bones, but they are not playing, they are disabled. The system that is all automated for, you see, it's moving, but it's not deforming. The deformed properties of these bones are, yeah, they go crazy, but it's not, the shapes doesn't reflect what really they cause on the mesh, which is supposed to be good. And it was good, but it's a bit hard work to build those bendy bone splines. Lots of so I'm trying to find a way to simplify this stuff. So this is why, so this was part of an experiment that I still not able, I failed to understand now how I would use this in this case, because although they, anyways, yes, at least they are mapping the, what would be the position of the mesh, like a ghost mesh, you see, because they don't, they just follow this, the type bone. They are mapper bones, but they are just serving as some reference. I cannot target them with anything. This bone has nothing to do with this currently, and I fear it will, if I skip just with something like that, I seriously won't need this. But at some point this is a good idea, at least to have the notion that, well, the mesh is quite displaced here, right? If we consider the type totally mechanical thing, the mesh is being displayed, quite displaced. So maybe I should reduce, for example, the amount of, can you remove cloths? Yes, actually, well, no, this is a texture cloth, and it's texture based, so no, but the clothes are already removed, right? The clothes that exist. So, and I was retaking the texture here, so it's all looks bad. There are a lot of, yeah, and after I've made change to the rig, this is not, many things here are failed to, yeah, so Snap needs to reworks the cloth rigging, but before that I want to solve the type thing. So or before I had these parts also, the, how do you say, the underwear clothing, they were also separate object, but then I remember, wow, this is not helping, this is making things more difficult. This is like for 3D animation, nothing like prohibited, and so it's not, I ended up in the conclusion that, yeah, just have this on texture. Voice choice 3000. Sorry, I don't understand. But I need to go, folks. Welcome, folks, and I'll try to be back today in about 3 to 4 hours, and I'll be continuing this rigging thing. Thanks for watching, folks. Take care and happy blending. Glad to have you on the show.